Hey guys, so today we have a video on someone that I haven't talked about in a while, and that's since like the old drama, and it's Matt Rife. I know. Shocking information. I didn't think I'd talk about him again. Obviously, we had the Brooke Schofield cancelled drama that I will touch on here. But since then, I haven't really felt the urge to speak on him. And yet, here we are. Because I don't know who Matt Rife is. He's a stand-up comedian who used to have a predominantly female audience because of his crowd work that he did with women, which led to a lot more women coming to his shows and trying to hit on him because he was seen as attractive and then like funny. So like women were just going crazy for him. So we have stuff like this.
That's your mom? Caleb and mom, what's your name? Paige. Lovely to meet you, Paige. Paige, how old are you? 52. You're 52? You guys look each other's ages. Who got the tickets? Mom? My husband. Your husband? Where's that fucking loser at?
Obviously, he's flirting with the mom. He does this a lot with women. I'm more used to with his crowd work, hence the female audience. And then, yeah, a lot more women came to his shows. And I think he thought for a bit that this was like an easy way to make money because obviously the clips would go viral. He'd get a lot of money. He'd get a lot of women coming to his shows. And then he realized that famous comedians, like really well-regarded comedians, weren't taking him seriously because he had this female audience. And it was almost like he was only famous because he was attractive and women found him attractive. So I think immediately he just thought, shit, I have to shed this persona. It almost reminded me of like when a Disney star's contract ends and they suddenly just start like doing really not family friendly things to shed the persona as quickly as possible to just like speed run their adult career. And I felt like this was the same thing. And it just kind of like, I don't really know how this turned out for him. I don't actually quite know how he's doing these days. But anyway, the reason why I think that is because of this clip. This was actually in a YouTube video by Funky Frog Bait. It's a clip of him basically talking about how he felt almost a bit insecure about the female audience and that he was constantly seeking male validation from his audience. And then like these girlfriends would bring their boyfriends along to the show and then the boyfriends would actually kind of enjoy it towards the end. But at the beginning they were like, ugh, who is this like hot guy flirting with my girlfriend while I'm right here, you know? And then like he would win them over by the end of the show. And it just seems like he was very much seeking male validation.
They bring their boyfriends or husbands who are always reluctant because they've probably bought the tickets.
Right.
They didn't want to be there. And then like 20 minutes into the show, they realized like my comedy is so much more for guys than it is girls.
And then obviously in an interview, he said, Matt Rife talks new special, natural selection, TikTok fame, and not stressing about offending anyone. So he was kind of soft launching the fact that he was going to be more offensive. And I think that's because men typically like more dark, offensive humor. And I think he thought he just speed runs it that way, just does really offensive humor, then he'll get the male audience, which kind of worked out for him actually in the end. Now let's actually go back further to Brooke Schofield and that whole drama. So Brooke was dating Matt Rife for a bit, kind of not exclusively, but they were kind of like she felt like it was more serious than it was. And then she found out that he was like seeing a bunch of girls at the same time. So they actually had him on the podcast while she was like dating him. And he pretended this whole podcast episode that he had like, this was the first time he was meeting her. So Tana was then super cold to him in the podcast and it created this really awkward environment. So this clip actually went super viral and people still bring it up regarding that.
It really made me realize that like people only hate somebody they're jealous of.
It was a really good, well-rounded answer. I'm trying to wrap my head around. Do you think people who hate Osama bin Laden are jealous of him?
Yeah, of course. Of course. They're mad that he wasn't the one calling the shots. Of course. Everyone wants to be the one with the remote.
Right, so you get it. Like she obviously made a bit of a fool out of him. So this is all happening and it's already kind of like kicking off. So Brooke's really awkward in this episode. Obviously, like I said, because she was dating him, she invited him on the podcast and then he gets there and pretends that he's never met her in his life. So that publicly he can keep this persona and image that he's a single guy, but he still wanted to reap the benefits of going on the cancelled podcast. So then he goes on the Stiff Socks podcast and talks about what he expects from women physically to find them attractive, which then sets Brooke off completely. Like this, she was tolerating a lot of his behavior up until this moment, and then she said, right, enough's enough. I'm just recapping everything that he's done because then I think we get more of an image of why people didn't want him for the Elf ad, which, spoiler, that's what the drama's about. He was in an Elf ad, which like makeup is still a predominantly female space. So like he's allowed to say whatever he wants. That's my opinion actually. I think he's allowed to make the jokes that he wants to make. He's allowed to say whatever he wants to say because technically like free speech, whatever, right? Like if we just talk about the fact that people are allowed to say whatever they want to say, but they're not free from consequences. So for example, I could say something that you really don't like and technically I'm allowed to say it, but your choice is then if you want to support me or not, or if you want to watch my content or not. That's the kind of society we live in, right? So you can really hate the stuff that he's saying and his consequence for that is going to be that you don't consume the content that he creates, right? So the reason why I'm bringing this up is not to be like, oh my God, like no one watch it. Like everyone's making their own decisions in life. I'm bringing all of this up to show that he's definitely trying to shed his like female forward persona. So he used to have a massive female audience, didn't like it. And then he said a bunch of things to be like, boo, women, male validation, right? Which he's allowed to do. He's allowed to do that if he wants to. I can can just choose to then be like, not the guy for me. Not gonna watch that comedy show, because it definitely feels like you've got like a bit of a vendetta against women. Like women are like pissing you off. And then that links into, don't then use Matt Rife for an ad for female majority product and expect good results. So this isn't like big, like before someone's like, oh my god, cancel culture, so annoying. I'm like, no, this is just like simple like marketing 101. If someone's trying to shed their female audience and is doing everything they can to offend their female audience, don't then use them to advertise a female majority product and expect great results. Like I thought that was just like common sense. Elf. And Elf's been so good at marketing that I don't understand what happened here. And I think that they're doing rage bait in the same way that like the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad was doing rage bait. Like I think that's what's going on. And it's like almost like any PR is good PR. Like I think that's actually what's going on. But I'm actually getting ahead of myself now. But I just want to preface this with like, this isn't me being like, people aren't allowed to say things that I find offensive. It's more like, if you say something that someone finds offensive, they have every right to then not support you. But you're still allowed to say that stuff if you want to. You'll just get consequences for your actions. It's like, what was the thing that Americans always say? Because obviously in the UK we don't have free speech, but like in America it's like, it's free speech, but it's not freedom from consequences. So you're allowed to say something really offensive, and then if someone punches you in the head, maybe you had it coming.
If I'm gonna date, not just sleep, if I'm gonna date a girl, like she has to have it. Has to, because it's something I know I'm attracted to. And if she doesn't have that, I know I'll catch myself looking at other ones.
So obviously that's like the first clip, which is not as bad as the other clip. He obviously talks about like, she has to have boobs, which is, I guess, personal preference. I don't know, just a bit odd to say on a public podcast. But then the second clip is where it gets worse.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, it's like, what am I supposed to fuck you or thumb wrestle? Like, I don't know.
I mean, both, honestly.
I don't love a giant. I don't want to look down and feel like God left a tag on you. I just don't want your pussy like the gum from Sausage Party.
So that was about vaginas, like innies and outies. He doesn't like an outie, he wants an innie. If you guys don't know, Brooke has an outie and he was at the time dating her, which obviously is a crazy thing to say publicly, knowing that she's going to see that. So then Brooke, obviously fuming, does a podcast episode about it where she exposes him for seeing other girls, and then talks about this clip and how that was like the last straw for her. I'm not going to play the whole episode for you because like they talk about a lot, but it's this episode actually if you guys want to watch it. How Tana lost her tooth in Hawaii, episode 64, is where Brooke goes off on Matt Rife about all of that. And I think like she then found out that he was talking to other girls and she spoke to them as well. And yeah, she actually did say that she's got an outie, which she didn't really want to say publicly, but because of this whole story, she kind of had to be like, yeah, and it hurt me because he's had sex with me and I have an outie. And then he's like on a podcast to where he doesn't like that. Anyway, that's when people realize that he's not very pro-woman as he used to make it out to be, right? So then we have the Netflix special. This is the joke.
I've only been to Baltimore one time. I ate lunch there, and the hostess who like seats you at the restaurant had a black eye. A full black eye. And it wasn't like, what happened? Yeah, it was pretty obvious what happened. And we couldn't get over the fact that we're like, this is the face of the company? Like, this is who you have greeting people? And my boy who I was with was like, yeah, I feel bad for her, man. I feel like they should put her in the kitchen or something where nobody has to see her face, you know? And I was like, yeah, but I feel like if she could cook, she wouldn't have that black eye.
That was basically how he opened the show. That was like his first joke, which let's just skip past if you're offended by this or not. Let's skip past all of that, okay? Because everyone's gonna have different opinions on if you're allowed to make jokes like that, who's allowed to make jokes like that. And this is just a conversation that we're not even gonna dabble in because everyone's gonna have different opinions. I have my opinion, you have your opinion, everyone's got their opinions. That was the first joke on his show, which that's why I said he was doing the speed run into having a male audience. He went from like crowd work, female audience. He's like trying to like thirst trap on stage. He gets a lot of female fans coming to shows. Then he realizes that they're not coming to the shows because they find him funny. They're coming to the shows because they find him attractive. So he's panicking, right? He's like, I must have a male audience because comedy and stand-up comedy is still very much a male-dominated space. And he's not being invited to do podcasts with these like male comedians, which typically they all kind of work together and give each other leg ups and stuff. And he just wasn't part of that community because I think everyone saw him as just like a pretty face who was just charming on stage, and a lot of women found him attractive, okay? But no one saw deeper into, is this guy even funny? Is he a talented comedian? So he started panicking and he's thinking, how am I going to speed run getting a male audience so that male comedians like me? Oh, I'm just going to make a few offensive jokes about women, like she must have boobs, I hate outie vaginas, and like the DV joke, your first joke as well. I think maybe it would have even hit a little bit better if it was in the middle of your show. But to start with the joke, you're saying like, this is my punchline, this is the theme I'm setting for the show, this is how I mean to continue, this is how I mean to go on, right? And again, I'm not talking about if he's allowed to make the joke or not, if I find it funny or not, if people should find it funny or not. I'm saying it's a choice, right? Like if you're doing a Netflix special, this is going through you, it's going through many different people. They're analyzing what joke's going to do well, what should we keep in. Like you thought about this. This was an active choice that you made to put that as your first joke, to set the tone and say, I am pro men. People then called him out. He does an Instagram story where he has a link to like an apology. When you click the link, it was a joke about disabled people essentially. Okay, so he was like, you're all being like, I don't know what the joke was, like you're all being disabled. It was like helmets for like autistic children, I think. He's basically saying like you're all being super sensitive, I guess. Anyway, we then don't hear anything about Matt Rife for a while. He then buys the famous Annabelle doll, the haunted one, like the one that like the horror movies are based on. Annabelle's handler, Dan Rivera, has died while touring with a doll. So now it's being sold. It was being auctioned off. Matt Rife buys it and reveals plans for its future. Oh, he's actually purchased the home of the doll with the doll. I've officially purchased Ed and Lorraine Warren's home and occult museum, including being the legal guardian for at least the next 5 years of the entire haunted collection, including the Annabelle doll, with my good friend at Elton Casti. If you know me, you know I'm obsessed with the paranormal and all things haunted. You may also know the Conjuring films are my favorite scary movies of all time, so I'm incredibly honored to have taken over one of the most prominent properties in paranormal history. Ed and Lorraine Warren arguably put demonology and paranormal into the mainstream and are the very heart of some of the most famous haunted stories of all time, The Conjuring House, Amity Horror, etc. Sharing the future of the home, Rife continued. We plan to open the house for overnight stays and museum tours so you yourself can experience and learn all the haunted history surrounding this amazing place. And then some of his supporters applauded the news while others raised grave concern. This is the post that he did about it on Instagram. And then someone commented saying, didn't someone just die for taking that Annabelle doll on tour or something? One person commented, referring to the recent death of the doll's handler. Oh, Dan Rivera, 54, died July 13th while on tour with the doll. According to a Facebook post from the New England Society for Psychic Research, which is hosting Annabelle's tour, Rivera suddenly died while at the event with the doll. Rivera was also the lead investigator for NESPR. Very strange. He was discovered in his hotel room by workers. Nothing unusual or suspicious was observed at the scene. His cause of death is pending. Ooh, that's a bit on the creepy side of things. Okay, well, good luck, Matt Rife. So now that I've speed ran this past of Matt Rife's, because otherwise, like if I just jump straight to the new drama, you'd be like, what's the big deal? So I had to give you the rundown, but I didn't want you to be here for hours, and I didn't want to be here for hours. Anyway, this is the new Elf ad. I hope they don't copyright claim me for this, and if you do, Elf, fuck you.
Hey girl, has overpriced beauty hurt your wallet?
Elf that.
Alfino and Schmarns have gone to Elf Court for millions of clients, helping them to access beauty products they deserve at prices that won't injure their livelihoods.
Just ask the elfin people.
I know a thing or two about red flags. And pricey makeup, you deserve better than that.
You may be entitled to benefits.
Let's get you those eyes, lips, funds.
Find out what your case and face are really worth.
Call us at 1-855-COLD-HARD-LASH.
That's 1-855-265-34.
273-2274.
How people gonna remember that?
Well, here's a number you can remember. $9.
Alfino and Schwartz, affordable beauty attorneys.
Okay, so that's that. Let's read the comments. Everyone in here commenting about Matt Rife while I'm here thinking this commercial was just plain awful. My low buy is coming to a no buy. Thanks, Elle, for hiring Matt Rife and making it so easy. So is the next ad going to be how effective your concealer is at covering up waitresses' black eyes? Rage bait is the newest and most successful marketing tactic these days. So that's the ad. It's a bit weird again, because like I said, he used to have a female main audience. And if he still had that, this ad would actually make a load of sense. But because he then despised having a mainly female audience, right? And speed ran his way to having a male audience, why would he then be in a makeup ad that is predominantly aimed at women? Like, it's just a bad marketing move. Again, this is not about cancel culture. This is not about like, I'm offended, because like that's irrelevant. Again, whether I like the joke or not, whether I'm offended or not, whether we should all be offended or not, kind of irrelevant right now. It's just a poor marketing tactic. And I think the reason why, and a lot of people are gonna be like, why are you saying ignore the, cancel culture, like cancel him, it's offensive. The reason why I'm ignoring that is because a lot of conversations get shut down if someone just says, I'm offended, this is offensive. Like, people don't care. So let's just ignore that. Like I said, everyone's allowed to have their own opinions about this. All I'm saying is it's just a really poor marketing tactic, and I don't understand why he would take part in it, because clearly he didn't like having a female audience. So is he now doing a loop-de-loop all the way back round? Like, he's done a 180 to the male audience. Is he doing another 180 because he's now realized that that was way more profitable for him? Like, is that what's going on? I just don't quite get why Elf would do that of all companies as well. Anyway, Elf has since apologized, but they obviously didn't take down the video, which people are still a bit like, you either say sorry and take the video down, or you don't say sorry and you keep the video up. But you can't do both. You can't have it both ways. They said, you know us. We don't. You're actually just a company. Like, you're not a person that we know. This like whole parasocial thing doesn't work for me anymore. What do you mean you know us? I don't know you. I just know that you make makeup and you dupe other companies. That's what I know. You know us. We're always listening and we've heard you. Again, you're not a human being. You're a company. You're a corporation, a multi-billion-dollar corporation that's just bought Rode. This campaign aimed to humorously spotlight beauty and justice. Also, again, beauty and justice, like injustice, this whole like justice thing was a strange topic to put Matt Rife in as well because of the DV joke. Like it's all just a little bit full circle. We understand we missed the mark with people we care about in our elf community. While Elfino and Schmanis closes today will continue to make the case against overpriced beauty. I mean, they just don't care, which is like fine. They don't care. And now we get to make our decisions about whether we want to support this company or not. But it was probably rage bait, if I'm being completely honest, or someone who just has no clue about anything. Like someone new has been employed for this marketing campaign and they just don't know anything about the online and they thought this was a great idea and it wasn't. But I hope people don't get too hung up on the like me saying it's not about who's offended by this joke or like cancel culture or anything like that. Because I just always feel like conversations get very unproductive when we focus on offensive, because offensive is different to different people. And so then the whole conversation gets shut down. I just want to focus on the facts, which is had a female audience, didn't want a female audience, is now doing a makeup ad. I don't get it personally. But yeah, subscribe, hit the bell icon for engagement. Let me know what you guys think about any of this, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.